Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat 5 segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show. Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat 5 segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show. What is up? Welcome back to Drummers on Drumming, a podcast powered by Big Fat Snare Drum, and I am back with George Martinez, aka Skinny George, and Eric Urrea. And just so people can know whose voices are whose, which I don't do enough, can you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Eric. This voice is Eric.
And this voice is George, right here.
Right there. Yeah, let's get into it. So I think I've been alluding to it over the last little bit, but the gig that I thought I was going to get, I ended up not getting. It's fine. I'm fine. But I did want to talk to everyone about rejection and how we deal with that and how we deal with something that we've manifested so much in our head. I've spent the last countless free hours to learn sets just because I was so convinced that that's what the drummer of the band would do. And I don't really regret it because for the reasons I said last time, it kept me distracted. And also it's just in the universe, I didn't let myself down. I did all I could do. It didn't work out, but that's fine. And I guess the question would be for you guys, how do you guys deal with rejection? And has it gotten better over time? And do you have any advice for me? Because I'm very sad.
Man, rejection, right? I mean, like it's we all know it because it's inevitable. Doesn't matter how much I prepare, and like you were saying, all those hours upon hours of like non-paid rehearsal, just because you are a real professional that wants to put your best foot forward, and it's like, man, this guy is ready. Like we talked about in the other episodes, like, man, we can depend on Ben. We don't have to worry about Ben. He got all that stuff down. Mm-hmm. Amazing, But when all of a sudden, this kind of like what seemed like an open door, what seemed like a good opportunity, kind of gets very quickly, or in this case, it took a long time for it to finally shut. It seems like like, oh man, immediately in my head I go straight to me, like, what did I do wrong? I like, wait a second. Like, did I say something wrong in the last conversation? Should I have actually gone over? Or like, you start replaying all the movie scenes in your head over and over and over again. And what I've learned over the years after like not getting the gig, after not getting the gig, and after not getting the gig again, sometimes what seems like a closed door or a missed opportunity is actually like a detour that's actually getting you to safety. Sometimes I remember getting so frustrated when I didn't get like a recording gig that was going to be such a great, not only a great opportunity to work with a bunch of great musicians that are in the business and all of that, but also just be able to take care of me and my family and all of that. And I was just so bummed out. I remember telling my wife, and she's just like, hey, listen, it's okay. I'm like, it's not okay. Like I really worked hard. And then about a week later, I heard how some of those sessions went. And I was like, oh, wow. Like that was a forest fire. I had no idea. The label actually dropped the whole session. That artist is not even signed anymore. I was like, what? Or like, I remember one time I had to go to I was getting my passport, everything ready to do this European kind of world tour thing with like this Australian singer, rock, super easy gig. It's like, oh man, this is gonna be the best. And I wrote songs on her record. I was gonna get credit for that. I mean, I'm talking about like, this is it. Like I can actually move into the house I want to live in, you know? And I do the whole thing. I let all my employers know here, like, hey, I'm out. I'm going on tour, you know, I'm gonna live the life. And then 2 weeks later, they call me and like the label dropped her off her record label. The whole tour is canceled. I'm just like, why? And then we found out that like she was just like destroying people on the road. I mean, like nobody wanted to work with her. And so, yeah, I mean, like, man, Ben, I totally understand where you're at. But I also think that maybe this was just not the right door. You know, maybe this is just a detour. You're in a safer place now than if you can believe that, and maybe something much better is coming. Actually, not might. Something is coming. So
I appreciate that. And I really do, when it comes to regrets and looking back on a certain could have been A, could have been B situation, and it was B when I thought it was going to be A. If I would have gotten that gig, would I be happier than I am right now? And it's like, there's no way to know that. And at the end of the day, if you can't guarantee that, then you can't have this obsession about this thing that never was, you know? I'll stop pontificating, but Eric, how do you deal with it?
In moments like this, I always think about, I always kind of approach it really hyper analytically, and the immediate aftermath, it's, did I do everything that I could? Is this rejection even about me? You know, because sometimes people are just looking for something else, you know, and it's not that like I got out drummed or outplayed. It's like, okay, if that's the direction that you want to go in, I'm just not the right fit. And at the end of the day, it's like, I want to know that I did everything in my power to put myself in the right position to have caught this opportunity if it went my way. If the answer is yes, then I can walk away satisfied. You know, if I feel like I left crumbs on the table, if I feel like I could have pushed more here, or I could have reached out more, whatever it is, then, you know, maybe I'll have some regrets, but usually not. And then the sort of longer thing, when I look back at like all of my past rejections, it's, what did I learn from this experience? There's definitely a few that I can think of where I feel like I could have prepared more or had approached the audition differently. But if I think realistically, it's that I was younger and naive and I didn't know what I was doing, you know? Mm-hmm. And I have since learned from that specific experience that next time I'm going to do X, you know? I'll get into the specifics.
Please do.
I remember right after college, they were doing like open auditions for Blue Man Group for the drum set player. And I was like, man, this is like my bag. I could crush this. So I like went into the audition, and the way it was structured, it was like they had their normal drummer that was there, and he would play a groove, and I was supposed to like on the spot memorize it and then like repeat it back, and you know. And at the time I was like, all right, that's like a cool tom groove, but like I think I can do like a different tom groove that's pretty cool. And like now looking back, I'm like, that's so stupid. Why did I do that?
It's literally not the directions. That wasn't not the point of the test.
But I was just like young, naive, like dumb kid, you know, like fresh out of college. Like I want him to know that I can play, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously it's for a sub position, and I'm supposed to sound exactly like the guy who's always there. And, you know, huge slap in the face, an audition that I should have totally crushed. I just like blew it because I was like, I could do this pattern instead. And so lesson learned, right? I left crumbs on the table, but I since have learned from that experience to not be an idiot and follow directions, right? So, yeah, I mean, any instance I can think about, there's something that I took away from that experience that has made me a better player, a better musician going forward.
I also think, I mean, just to jump in, you know, Ben, I think about the first time you told me like what was going on, I'm like, oh man, you know, exciting opportunity. But then the red flag was kind of like, you know, and now we can see it as a red flag because we're on the other side of it, you know, but it's like, why is it taking this long? You know, like this is not like it's not like a local band. It's not, it's, you know, it's like, this should be like a pretty streamlined process. Like, hey, this is the stuff. Can you do it? Cool. All right, here we go. And we start. And man, like, I just think that shows, again, I don't want to badmouth anybody, but it's just, there's a right way and a wrong way to tell people how to, you know, how you kind of take care of the situation, and kind of just letting it kind of prolong itself. I mean, you know, you start building up some hope, like, hey, maybe this might actually go through. And then it's just like, oh, by the way, now it's an even bigger boulder instead of it being a pebble. If you would have just told me right at the start, like, hey, you know, we're really thinking that this is probably the other option. Oh, hey, no worries. Totally get it.
Yeah.
And I saved myself the hours of agony of trying to figure out all this repertoire. But, you know, again, that kind of shows more of the character of that organization or band or whatever than you. So, you know, you learn from it, you go, got it. If it's taking too long next time, I'm going to open my mouth maybe a lot more and be like, hey, even if I'm annoying, at least I'll know right from like, I don't want to get surprised at the end, you know, so.
When it comes to, say, the conversation I had, the phone call I had with the artist weeks ago, it's not like it just happened. That's why they made the decision. It was one of the many things that like little crumbs were given to me. And I was ruminating on, oh my God, should I have mentioned that band name? Because when I mentioned the Pixies, he was stoked, but then I mentioned this other band. He's like, I'm not saying what he said, but like he responded differently when I said, oh, I hear this as an influence perhaps, you know? And it's crazy that I can do hours and all these other random things of prep work, but one little comment might have been the reason that I didn't get the gig. And those are the things that it's hard for me to accept, because it's like I showed up in every possible way, but then this one random thing that has nothing to do with drumming and is honestly what I thought in the moment. That's why you can't regret it, because it's like, that's what I hear. And I thought it could have been like, oh my God, oh, but I've never heard of that. But yeah, I listened to that. And then that could have been this amazing other tangential conversation that got me the gig. Those are the things that eat away at me.
The flip side to that coin, though, is like, is that the kind of energy that will be fun for you on tour?
Exactly.
You know, it's like, if it had gone the other way, are you going to be walking on eggshells being like, I can't talk to this person. I can't relate to this person, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think that's an important thing to factor into any audition, is like, is this truly the right fit for me? You know?
Yes.
And sometimes you don't know it at the time, right? Like another example for me is like, I was really intense on auditioning for drum corps when I was in high school and in college, and I came really close, and those rejections were super hard on me.
Yeah.
But I had to take a step back and go, but at the end of the day, like, as much as I love the drumline drum corps world, my true passion is the drum kit. And do I really want to spend an entire summer playing in a drumline? And for me, like, I realized later after the fact that the answer for me was no. There's so many of these little things where it's just like, it's almost like you kind of force yourself to maybe want something that maybe was not the right fit in general.
Ben, when you're telling that story, I want to make sure that I can be authentically myself in the gig. So when that came up to you, when you thought about that band, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but that's what you thought. Like, that's authentically your response. You're like, that's you. That's
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's what I bring to the table. I'm Ben. It is what it is, you know. And like Eric said, it'd be really weird if you had a bunch of those moments back to back to back to back before getting on stage, getting off the stage, at rehearsals, when something goes wrong, and then you're thinking, I want to say this, but am I gonna get, no, you know what? Let me just kind of, and it's just, that's a really unhealthy place to be, you know. We're talking about the drum corps and all that stuff, you know, like, I'm kind of goofy and whatever, you know, like I am who I am. And sometimes I think, man, is that hindering me from getting some more serious students? Because I'm just like what's in the package and blah, 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 whatever. And like, everybody looks at my online content and whatever. But I think that the amount of time that I've spent on the pad and refining these little things, not this one, but this one, whatever, you know, right now we're taking a break, whatever. But I think it usually speaks for itself. And then the people who want to gravitate toward me because they like my personality, they see the skill, they see that, hey, this guy's put in the work. A lot of times that's what I get self-conscious about, you know, when I'm walking around PASIC or whatever, and I'm just thinking around like, there's monster players around me, guys that can play circles around me. Like, I'm no big deal. But then some random kid shows up. He's like, oh, man, I watched your video and I can play paradiddles because of you. I'm like, really? You know, it's just because they like me. It's not so much, and they can learn how to play a paradiddle from anybody, but they authentically like me because I was being myself, you know. And so yeah, any kind of gig where you have to kind of like hinder or kind of like throttle back who Ben is, nah, man, nah.
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
Speaking into the void.
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
When you guys deal with rejection, what part hurts the most for you? Is it the ego? Is it the loss of the potential income?
You guys are getting paid? Is income?
I'm living out of boxes with unstable internet. This coffee's all I have right now.
If I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to be really, really honest, okay, yeah, you think about the income. I think about income because that's like, dude, I mean, if I don't have gigs, I can't put food on the table. I can't take care of my kids. I mean, I have to feed many mouths, you know? And so I think of like that, like, man, what an income, like that was a great opportunity that would have like now give me a little bit of breathing room for a few months or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like we talked about in the last one, if there's something that can carry me over a few months, like, man, that's a great gig, you know? And, so I think about that, what I've got to tell my wife and my family. All right, we're going to have to like, you know, like, okay, what's on the dollar menu at McDonald's? All right, let's do that, you know, whatever. But I think ultimately what the sting that lasts the longest is that kind of internal battle in my mind about like, what does this mean about me? You know, and like, what did I not do right? And man, maybe I shouldn't even be doing this. I start going down the black hole real fast, you know, where it's just like, am I even a drummer? Like, does anybody even care? Do I even have skill? Do I have to go back into lessons? I'll go a billion different ways when it's just one missed opportunity. You know, I can't look at the last 28 years of my drumming and say, well, everything goes into shambles because this one didn't work out. I can't do that because that's a waste of all the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into this craft because I love it, to just throw it away because somebody's opinion or somebody's miscommunication as to what my future might look like for the next few months. No way. I can't throw that away for that.
And I'm not asking you guys, and I actually don't want you to say anything after this, but I definitely feel like of the three of us, I'm the worst drummer. And that's fine. And it's good for me to hear that you guys still have that because I watch your guys' videos. Like there was one of you on the drum set, because you don't post as many videos of you on the drum set, George, and you fucking blew me away when you were in, it was like a church video thing.
Yeah, that's where I work, yeah.
You guys are incredible drummers, and it's reassuring, but also bums me out that even you guys still can go to that spot where like, do I even know how to play drums? Because whenever you look from the outside, you're like, are you crazy? Of course you are. Meaning you're a good drummer, not that you're bad. But it's like the fact that you even thought you could play drums for a second is weird. No, but I guess it's reassuring that everyone goes through it. You know, maybe Thomas Lang is probably like, man, do my doubles suck?
But I think that's an important part of the process. Some of the most frustrating students I have are the ones who are like, oh, I'm good. You know, that's the worst.
Preach. Come on now.
You know, it's. I'm sure I've said it before on this podcast, but I always talk about how being any kind of artist is balancing narcissism and extreme self-deprecation. And you need to have both, right? Yep. And for me, that's why for me, to answer your original question, it's the ego blow that hurts me the most. Mm-hmm. And then that will affect, you know, that balance for me. Because I have to walk into a gig or an audition. I have to be confident that like people want to hire and work with someone that is confident at their craft. And when you have these little like, or at least when I have these kind of rejections, it will hit me really hard, and I will have those thoughts of, man, do I deserve to be here playing this gig or you know, this like what, who else is auditioning? Why is everybody cooler than me? You know, that ego blows is tough, and then it knocks the whole balance out of place, you know. But then I also wonder, the flip side is maybe the silver lining of that is then that self-deprecating side, that side that tells you that you suck. Even as it's of course not true, that's the side that drives you to get better. And that's the side that that gets you into the practice room and gets you remotivated into the next thing?
Yeah, I used to preach it, and now I'm living it right now, and kind of, forcing to make an honest man out of myself, where when things happen, I try and think, how is this the best thing that's ever happened to me? Or what are the amazing aspects of the last few months that didn't pan out? And I've surprised myself at how positive I am being with this and how I've just been laughing it off. But it really is the project that I didn't get. A lot of the drum parts were really cool, and I spent the last few months analyzing the arrangements of the songs and ways that when the arrangements were weird, the drummer was able to navigate it and steer the ship in a way that when you're listening to the song seemed pretty approachable. And then when you're getting into the thick of it, you're like, oh my God, this is actually way more complicated than it was, but the drummer made it sound so cool. And there's a handful of things that I can take away from, being forced to hyper analyze a certain project, because when now with Spotify and now with everything, and you can just keep switching from genre to genre, and you have every record in your hand, you don't really do like the deep dives anymore. At least I'm talking from my own experience. I definitely am a different drummer now than I was 2 months ago, in a big, obvious way. And so it's only going to be, and of course, with that band being successful, a lot of those tricks are proven that they work in context of something that would make me money in the future. So like, it's the reason I get the better gig that's fit for me.
You broaden your vocabulary on the instrument, because the only reason I can say yes to a jazz gig is because I was in a jazz band for whatever X amount of years. The only reason I can say yes to some of the salsa or Latin stuff is because, well, I live in Miami. It's just, you have to. There's no way. If you want to survive, you have to get out there and play.
Yeah.
But none of that stuff came easy. The rudiments, drumline stuff. Yeah, that stuff is. I'm more of a rock, straight ahead drummer. Like, I don't have all the fancy stuff. When I look at J-Rod and all these crazy people, and that's why I did really well in the studio, because I was just like, hey, whatever you need me to do, I can do that consistently all the way. No problem. But even in the studio, I remember getting thrown into all types of different genres of music, and immature young George said yes to all of them because, oh no, I can do it. I'm your man. And then I go home, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's look up the greatest. Okay, how do I feel? Oh, most fills are not on. Okay, got. And and I tried to fake it till I made it. But even that process made me a better drummer and gave me more vocabulary that I can use. And then eventually confidently say, I remember because of this gig or this missed opportunity gig that I didn't get, I went down this rabbit hole and learned all these crazy prog metal things. And now I can do that stuff, So for sure, it's going to make the next opportunity for you a lot easier. So, because even the way you approach the arrangement, like you were saying, you're like, I could probably pull from here, and add that to this situation. And they're going to be like, man, that's so original. Joke's on you,
The thing that's so crazy about this industry is and this isn't unique to this industry, but maybe the arts in general, is that you don't know what your 6 months, unless you are lucky enough where you have a more stable gig, you don't really know what the next 6 months is going to look like. And so having to deal with just the uncertainty is tough. And so we were going to talk about our New Year's resolutions, and it's interesting where just one text, one phone call completely switched up the perspective on that for me. But I do want to ask you guys about that. So when it comes to New Year's resolutions, what do you want to bring into this next year, and what do you want to leave behind?
It's funny, Ben, you talked about communication earlier. That's a big one for me. And anyone who knows me knows this, that I'm the world's worst texter of all time. But genuinely, like, I feel like I'm super guilty of kind of being a bit of a homebody hermit. And when I'm home, I'm just kind of like, I shut the world out. And I really want to be aware of reaching out to people more, not just for like an opportunity's sake, but certainly that plays a big factor,
Yes.
Because I do want to be the forefront of people's mind when they're like, I'm looking for a drummer, right? But just in the sense of like, I want to work more on establishing more relationships and better relationships and friendships and connections, and kind of pushing myself outside of the box, similar to what like we were talking about a lot with Gunnar about going backstage, right? I want to put myself into more situations out of my comfort zone where traditionally I would have kind of shut down or avoided the situation entirely. So yeah, I would say communication is the big one that I'm trying to leave behind in 2025 and then turn a new leaf in 2026. A lot of, I think, my drumming resolutions for this year actually don't have a ton to do directly with drumming.
When I went to PASIC, this is my second year going to PASIC, and this time around it was a real eye opener for me because, again, talking about imposter syndrome, when I show up, I'm like, I'm nobody. Okay, I'm just a guy in the small corner of the internet doing a small little thing, and then I went out to dinner, and I've got like Isaac Jamba in front of me, and I've got Q Robinson, which me and Q have gone. I mean, I've known Q since he was like, I worked at a music store right down the street from where he grew up. And other people, just all these amazing drummers. And Isaac Jamba comes up to me. He's like, "You have hands, you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. You know?" He's like, "You need courses. You need to make videos, you know, whatever." And I think for a long time, I've always wanted to kind of bring out my own little like hand technique, little nuggets of wisdom that I've learned throughout the years, and some kind of package that I can kind of, you know. And Isaac, just being the amazing guy that he is, he texted me at the beginning of the year. He's like, "I'm going to help you. We're going to get together. We have a meeting. We're going to get this going." And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You know? And so something that I've been thinking about and putting on the back burner for a long time, I think is actually going to happen this year, which is like a whole hand technique course to help people from beginning to end. And, you know, and I just think that I have to walk into this situation believing the same way that I walked into my content creating at the beginning, that it's going to help somebody, you know, even if I sell one of them or whatever, you know. I'm just trying to think of like my kids and some kind of passive income thing, and not just be the Instagram guy, but instead, like in the background or whatever, there's some kind of passive income happening so that can fill some of the gaps in between gigs and other stuff too. So that's a big one.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm bringing into this year. It's tough, I guess, because last year I did a lot of stuff behind the scenes, I guess, with getting diagnosed officially with ADHD and that journey and taking away the shame of how I work. And so last year was a big kind of figuring that out about myself. But this year it's tough. It's sad. I was thinking about this. It's like, man, I don't have like a vision, and it's going back to this gig again, not to be a pity party, but it's like I've more often than not, when I look back 6 months, wherever I'm at is not how I thought. It is not where I thought I would be, good or bad. For the most part, I think good, that where I thought I was going to be 6 months prior. And so I grapple with that, having too much direction and then not enough direction, and trying to be okay with the uncertainty of this industry. And because you have to kind of straddle the line between being available for these opportunities, but also knowing that you still have enough streams of income. I mean, you have to think about it as a business. And so it's kind of setting up more stuff on the outside to when I can deal with these situations where things don't work out, where I'm like, okay, well, at least I still have my nest, that I'm not like destitute, you know? And
right.
So it's hard. Like, do I double down on getting to be such a better drummer, or do I really double down on releasing that second book and all my spare time really focusing on that? Because I'm not getting any younger, and trying to think about, you know, big kid stuff, as opposed to, I want to play with a cool band and play cool drums, you know. My answer is, I don't know. And so maybe that would make some people feel less alone if they hear that. But even though it seems like I have my shit together with like, oh, I released a book, I have a podcast that comes out, now I can't say every week, but more weeks than not. Really, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Like, if people could see the situation, I'm on like crate boxes right now. I just moved. My internet's unstable. It's like, I don't have my shit together, but I actually really do, in a weird way, because this is how I function the best, which is just allowing myself to be free to what happens. But there's also dark times where that means that I'm kind of like lost. But yeah, I don't really know exactly where that was going either. There's a lot of thoughts that don't have direction right now, but I'm saying, I don't know what my New Year's resolution is. I guess to sleep
but
more.
There's a lot of people that are in that same boat, you know, and I think that's the important part. Like you said, there's somebody listening that's just like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. Thank God. Okay, here we go, you know, because I was that last year. the whole year I just kind of did my thing. I'm just, oh yeah, I'm working with some brands. That's fun. Okay, it's awesome. But it was only this past, like again, right at the end of November that I had like this, like, oh, wait a second, this could be it. This could be the time. This could be the actual goal for the first time after years of not really having the vision or where is this Skinny George thing going. For the first time, I actually have something. Whew, that took a while, so it's okay,
Yeah. And I do want to respond to what Eric was saying, where I think you're going to excel if you put yourself in more situations to communicate more, because I think one of the reasons why I keep calling you back to be on this podcast is I think you're one of the most genuinely nice and just inherently good dudes I've met. And I think if you allow yourself to just be that more, which again, I'm not sure if I've never seen you in a situation where you haven't done that, but I think only good things are going to happen.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And to respond to what you were saying about your position that you're in right now, I think what's cool, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is that you have this opportunity now to really take stock in like what you want to do. Mm-hmm. You have this. It's weird that like with this rejection comes like a lot of freedom to really just go in any direction that you want. I think that's really cool, and only good things are going to come of it. Exactly like you said, it's exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Did you answer what you wanted to leave behind, George?
Oh man, leave behind. I mean, the first thing that comes into my mind about what I want to leave behind in 2026.
Hand accidents?
Bro, honestly,
left hand pain?
Just the left hand alone. I dislocated my thumb. I stabbed myself. I mean, like, seriously, my left hand is not having a good year so far. So if I can just keep both of my hands in one piece, that would be phenomenal. It's kind of important. I'm like the balance your hands guy, but right now I'm very imbalanced. So. That'll
be part of your course, is rebalancing my hands after one is not balanced anymore for a few weeks.
Yeah. No, but I mean, honestly, personally, I know we joked around about like, Skinny George, Dad Bod George, and blah, 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 like last time, but I definitely want to leave behind kind of unhealthy habits. And the only really unhealthy habits that I'm talking about are kind of like physically. Again, I'm skinny, but I'm not in shape. Like my hands are in shape. That's it. My hands have a six pack. Whoa, look at that.
Damn, dude, yeah.
But I look at my wife. She is in this garage where I record my content. I'm looking at all her dumbbells and all her stuff. She works out she's a teacher, a second grade teacher. She works out every single day in this garage at 4:30 in the morning. It's insane to me. Then to go into a class full of like just gremlins all day, and then have to come home and deal with me without one arm, like, come on, So anyway, but I have some pretty, some pretty big health goals. So I've got to get rid of some really bad health stuff that I wasn't doing, like eating bad and, taking vitamins and supplements and all that stuff, because ultimately I'm only going to have something to offer if I'm healthy, the healthiest state of myself, so definitely want to leave behind some of those French fries and McDonald's and all that stuff. But
there was a sentiment I was reading where someone's like, all right, well, let's say I could give you $15 million, like just on the spot. Like, okay, great. Imagine all the things you would buy and do and how amazing your life would be. And in order to get that $15 million, all you have to do is give me your arms and your legs. It's like, well, no, I'm definitely not doing it. So your body and your arms and legs specifically are worth $15 million minimum.
Yeah, it's good.
And so it's just like, you gotta take care of that. Cause like, what's the point of any of this if you can't walk up the stairs to wherever you think you want to go on vacation?
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can buy a lot of practice pads at $15 million.
Yeah, but you can't use them. You got no arms.
Yeah, I'll figure something out. No, I love that. That's such a great, that's really, really good. I love that. Now, for those of you who are listening, understand too that when you do decide to have a goal or a vision or a very specific thing that you're trying to accomplish, don't be surprised if there's some opposition on the way there. You know what I mean? Like, I decided, hey, as soon as I get back from vacation, gonna hit the gym, all that stuff, and I stabbed myself in the. It's like, give me a break, So, but it's about how you respond. I've got 10 days. These stitches come out, and then let's go. So, I mean, it comes with the territory, and you have to be ready to kind of confront that, because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hit this goal up. Oh, that's a lot harder than I thought. Never mind. No, it's hard because you're gonna do something great with it. So you've got to kind of push through that opposition to get to the actual goal. Another really big part, especially when it comes to artists, actors, musicians, whatever, not carrying that weight by yourself. I felt really privileged, when I got your text that you're like, hey, didn't get the gig. And I'm like, crap, man. That was my first thing. Like out loud, I said, crap, that sucks, whatever. But then I thought about it. I'm like, that's like the healthiest thing that Ben could have done, is to reach out to somebody or to a couple of people or whoever. And I think that any kind of goal that anybody is going to try to make, any kind of real change, something that's really going to push the dial, you can't do it by yourself. You got to find your people. And that's probably another one of my goals, is just remind myself that, yeah, I'm always alone in this wall right here, recording by myself, talking to myself. Like there's nobody here. It's like, oh, that takes suck. Come on. All right, 17 takes later, whatever. Mm-hmm. But that there are people that are literally one text, one call, one DM away that actually do care for my well-being and are an open ear to hear all the stuff. Because if I don't get that out, man, I'm just going to just completely plateau, because in my own mind, I'm going to convince myself, George, you can't do it. And I need the other people around me to go, yeah, you can totally do this, so.
When it comes to what things I want to leave behind, because I know you have to, speaking of leaving behind, you have to leave us in a second. But I think the thing that I want to leave behind next year or this year is, it's hard for me to, and it's kind of a question that we can talk about in future episodes, but how do you track progress to feel that you're not stuck in your playing? And I feel that I really want to get more serious in tracking my progress and having a little more, when I walk into the session, like when it comes to the gym, I have my splits that I know throughout the week that I'm going to do this on this day, rest this day, this day. And when I come to the studio, I've been lucky enough where most of the time I'm learning songs for gigs or potential gigs like I just didn't get. But that was a big shock too, like when I didn't get the gig, and then yesterday when I was going to go to the studio that I ended up not. But I was like, I don't even know what I would do in there, because I don't have to learn any songs right now. I have the million things I need to work on, like we all do. And so that's, I think, what I want to leave behind, is having not a lot of direction when it comes to my practice in any way. We'll see how that goes, but theoretically, that's what I'm going to leave behind.
And that's the show. If you're listening on a platform that allows ratings and reviews, do that. It helps more people find the show, so it'll get bigger and better, and hopefully I'll have a chance to sell out one day. But you'll be an OG listener that can brag to all your friends. Anyways, why don't you go and check us out at bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on all the socials. Just search for Big Fat Snare Drum and you will find us. The show is edited in part using iZotope RX Audio Editor. It's amazing, so go check that out at iZotope.com. And thanks again to Gunnar Olsen for the theme music. Bye!